أنا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وفقها في الدين يا رب العالمين وألحقنا بعبادك الصالحين. Last week, just before we finished off, there was one hadith left. In regards to a person who loses his child. Let's read the hadith inshallah. وعن أبي موسى الأشعري رضي الله تعالى عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: إذا مات ولد لعبد قال الله عز وجل لملائكته: قبضتم ولد عبدي؟ فيقولون نعم. فيقول: قبضتم ثمرة فؤادي؟ فيقولون نعم. فيقول: ماذا قال عبدي؟ فيقولون: حمدك واسترجع. فيقول: ابنوا لعبدي بيتا في الجنة وسموه بيت الحمد. رواه الترمذي وابن حبان في صحيحه وقال حديث حسن غريب. In this hadith, the companion Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, the famous Yemenite companion from the tribe of the Ash'aris, whom Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam gave many glad tidings towards, especially for the beautiful voice that they used to recite sing the tone, the rhythmic tone that they used to recite the Quran with. Rasulullah gave them glad tidings in regards to the way they used to recite the Quran. So there's nothing wrong with a person beautifying his voice as long as he doesn't make it into like a musical. Sometimes it becomes so musical that you're more into the tune than the actual meanings of the Quran, because the whole purpose of the Quran is that you are able to contemplate. Any person that understands simple Arabic is able to contemplate upon those verses, upon what Allah's giving the message of, and the remembrance. Generally, it's a remembrance. فَذَكِّرْ إِن نَفَعَتِ الذِّكْرَى. It's a remembrance. So here, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiallahu anhu, he reports from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that when a child passes away, then the angels, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the angels, you have taken the child of my servant, you have taken away his beloved, basically, his most loved child. They say yes. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you have taken the most fruit of his heart, meaning like the most thing that he loves the most, like in the depth of his heart, because a child is a child. A man, his purpose of life is to create other children. That's why when a person is impotent, he doesn't have the ability to have children. That's the worst damage a man can have psychologically, because his purpose is not being fulfilled. He's not able to fulfill his legacy of him having children, and those children becoming a sadaqah jariyah for him for the rest of his entire life, as well as his akhirah as well. So impotency, unfortunately, is becoming something more common nowadays, not just because of birth control pills and many other things, but because of the food intake and because of other issues. Okay. Here you have taken the most beloved thing to his heart. فَيَقُولُونَ نَعَمْ. The angels say yes, we have taken it. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the angels, what did he say? What did he do? What was his reaction? After you took his child, after you gave death to his child, what was his reaction? So what did he do? He replied, Hamidaka wastarja'a. He praised you. He said, Alhamdulillah. Imagine after your child dies, you say Alhamdulillah, and you say the word istarja'a, referring to inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Because a Muslim, whenever he is afflicted with any type of calamity, he says inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, with a small o big. It doesn't need to be death. Many people think it's always referring to death. It's not referring to death. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un is any time. For example, you go into a car accident. For example, you go any small thing, any small calamity, any small difficulty, you say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Here in this instance, he said inna lillahi, after saying alhamdulillah, Allah has taken my son away, Allah has taken my daughter away, he says alhamdulillah, and he says inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, meaning he has accepted fate. He had accepted the fate of his child. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the giver and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the taker. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you a child, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took that child away from you. It's not yours. That's what you have to remember all the time, every time. Your wife is there, your wife can be taken away. Your mom is there, your mom can be taken away. Your dad is there, your dad can be taken away. You yourself are here today, tomorrow you may not be there for your children. So this is something which we as Muslims, we have to embed inside our minds, that we are here temporarily. We are not here to stay. This is not our abode. This is not our place where we build mansions and we have luxurious lives and comfortable lives. This is not the place. This is not the place to create our Jannah. If you create your Jannah here, what would you have created for your Akhirah? Do you understand? This is what Hassan al-Basri used to say. Hamidaka wastarja'a, meaning he made sabr. After he said Alhamdulillah and Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, after his son's death, he made sabr. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the angels, commands the angels, Ibnu li'abdi baytan fil Jannah. Reward him, build for him a massive palace in Jannah, a house in Jannah. And Sammuhu Bayt al-Hamd, and name that palace the palace of praise. Why? Because he was tested with one of the most hardest tests in this world for your children to be taken away. Gazans in Palestine are facing this on a daily basis, but because of these hadiths, they stand strong until today. And they will stand strong. They will continue to stand strong because they are firm Muslims. And it's guaranteed in the hadiths that these people are the shuhada. These people are the people that have the true faith of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not just talk. Talk is easy, but walking the talk is hard. Walking the talk requires your life. It requires sweat, requires blood. So this is not easy. This is true faith. Your aqidah will only be tested. Many people, they go and they talk a lot about aqidah, that your aqidah is not right. Everyone's aqidah is not right. His aqidah is only right. His sheikh's aqidah is right. Everyone else in the whole world is on batil. Is on falsehood. Because his sheikh is the one that follows Bukhari. Like that. Astaghfirullah. Anyway, we're not going to go to that topic today. Let's continue, inshallah. The next chapter we have here is regarding seducing a woman or deceiving a woman against her husband. Meaning, you make a plan to take her away from her husband and you marry her. Or the other way around as well, wherein a woman, she finds another man attractive who's already married. She comes up with a plan and she gets that man divorced to his wife that he loves because of some plan plotting that she comes up with, and she makes him divorce her and marries her. Okay, this type of deception is extremely haram and one of the biggest major sins in Islam. Let's see. عن بريدة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ليس منا من حلف بالأمانة. A person is not from us, meaning he's not a Muslim. As if he's not a Muslim, he's like a kafir. He's like a kafir. Not to say that he's going to become a kafir, but it's like a kafir. Okay? He's onto the borderline of kufr. This is huge. This is major, severe gravities. This sin is huge. Laysa minna. He's not from us. He's not from us. The one who halafa. Halafa is someone who swears with a trust. Halafa bil amana. For example, he says, I will keep an item for you. But he knows he's going to abuse that item. For example, you leave your car by him. You know although he said qasam, he made a qasam on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He promised that he'll take care of your car. But in fact, he doesn't take care of your car. He goes from miles and miles away, and in fact, he probably ends up crashing it. Okay? So any amana, it can be your watch, it can be anything. Any type of amana, any type of trust that he abuses. But he makes a qasam that he's going to protect it. He makes a qasam on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, Wallahi, brother, I'll help you. When he's not when the time comes, he doesn't help you. Okay? This is a grave sin. He's not from us. The second type, وَمَنْ خَبَّبَ عَلَى امْرِئٍ زَوْجَتَهُ أَوْ مَمْلُوكَهُ فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا. The second and the third type is any person who deceives a man from his wife. Meaning he plots and plans and he makes a deceptive plan to make the husband divorce the wife in order for him to get that wife. Maybe he found out that she's extremely pretty or something, or extremely rich, and he wants to be inside that family because he can create links. There are people like this. There are loads of people like this, sick-minded. Even though she's a married woman, because of certain reasons, he wants to marry her. So he's going to come up with a plan in order to break that marriage. Or she's going to come up with a plan to break his marriage in order to take that husband. Because of his riches, because of his cars, and this happens. This happens so commonly, unfortunately. And this is the height of deception. This is the height of deception. As we'll see, is the best friend of shaitan. He's the best friend of, not just shaitan, he's the best friend of Iblis. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So, a man who seduces, a man who deceives another man of his wife. And back in the days, Mamluk, and they used to own slaves. A person who deceived in getting the slave out of the ownership of the the master. So this is also a great deception. This hadith is in Ahmad, and the isnad is sahih, as well as Ibn Hibban and Bazar also narrate this hadith. وعن جابر رضي الله تعالى عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن إبليس يضع عرشه على الماء. I'm sure you've heard of this. The hadith of Buraidah states in the riwayah of Muslim, he says, verily Iblis, he places his arsh, he places his throne on the water, on the ocean. What does he do? ثم يبعث سراياه. Then he sends out his armies. Iblis every single day, this is his job. This is his job. What's the job title of Iblis? This is the job title of Iblis. He sits on his arsh is on the ocean. And he sends out his armies, his troops. فَأَدْنَاهُمْ مِنْهُ مَنْزِلَةً أَعْظَمُهُمْ فِتْنَةً. The one that is most closest to him, meaning his ministers, his MPs that are inside his parliament house on the throne, are the ones that cause the fitna the most. Are the ones that cause the fitna the greatest of fitnas. يَجِيءُ أَحَدُهُمْ فَيَقُولُ فَعَلْتُ كَذَا وَكَذَا. One of them, they come back. One of the soldiers come back and they say, I've done this and I've done that. He says, MashaAllah, good, well done. فَيَقُولُ مَا صَنَعْتَ شَيْئًا. You haven't done much. The fitna that you've created is not such of a big degree. ثُمَّ يَجِيءُ أَحَدُهُمْ فَيَقُولُ مَا تَرَكْتُهُ حَتَّى فَرَّقْتُ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ امْرَأَتِهِ. Then he says, another one comes along and he says, I didn't leave that person until I caused so much corruption between husband and wife, until I caused them to separate, until I caused them to divorce. What does he do? فَيُدْنِيهِ. He brings him closer to him. So Iblis brings this soldier of his that he sends out every single day. He brings him closer to him. وَيَقُولُ نِعْمَ أَنْتَ. Excellent, you've done a well done. You've done an excellent job. You've done an excellent job. فَيَلْتَزِمُهُ. He embraces him. You know, like on Eid we embrace each other. He embraces him. He says, you've done excellent. Why? You've broken a family. When you break a family, you break a community. When you break a family, you break the community. Unfortunately, divorce rates are going crazy. And this is only because of ignorance and only because of social media as well. Controlling social media is the most important thing that you can do for your wife. If you don't control social media for your wife, you will end up in disaster. This is a fact. Because influence of social media is so great right now, it's causing those divorces automatically. You will never give the life that they see on social media. Never be able to. Most men, 99% of men will not be able to give. Therefore, you will automatically, eventually, whether it's now, 5 years down the line, 15 years down the line, 20 years down the line, most youngsters will end up in divorce. Unfortunately, this is the unfortunate situation that we have. That's why they're trying to control phones inside schools and everything now. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. That's a good decision that they've taken. Inshallah, this continues. So this hadith is in Muslim. Next, عن ثوبان رضي الله تعالى عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أيما امرأة سألت زوجها طلاقها من غير ما بأس فحرام عليها رائحة الجنة لا إله إلا الله. رواه أبو داود والترمذي وحسنه وابن ماجه وابن حبان في صحيحه. This hadith comes in 4 books. Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Imam Tirmidhi says this hadith is Hasan, Ibn Majah and Ibn Hibban. 4 of the great books of hadith. Thawban radiallahu anhu, he narrates from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam saying, any woman that asks her husband for divorce without a severe difficulty, min ghayri ma ba'sin, without an extreme circumstance where she cannot bear it anymore with her utmost effort, فَحَرَامٌ عَلَيْهَا رَائِحَةَ الْجَنَّةِ, because she asked for a divorce without a valid reason, without an extreme reason, because she asked for, nowadays, the amount of questions that come when it comes to this stuff is absolutely disgusting. You don't want to be the mufti there and listening to these queries. They want khul'ah for everything. Husband has been given the right of divorce for a reason. Generally, the husband, 80% of divorces take place because of the wife. 80%, not just in UK, in around the most Western parts of the world. 80% of divorces happen because of women, because they're not happy. Marriage was never because of happiness. Just because you're not happy doesn't mean marriage must crumble into pieces and our children must go into broken homes and go into fostering. This is not the way. This is not the way forward. Our parents, look at our parents. They got married, they stayed until they died. They never had an issue. Why? Because they listened to their parents, they listened to their elders, they listened to everyone that was around them, the murabbis. Because now murabbis don't exist and there's no one to tell them off for doing something wrong. They think everything is, because your father is your friend now. Your father is your friend. How are you going to respect your father? You can't respect your father. It's not possible for you to respect your father anymore. Because your father acts like a child. He's still like in his 20s or something, the way he acts, although he's in his 40s. This is completely incorrect upbringing of children. You shouldn't be your friend. You must understand the difference between who you are and who your child is. If you can't distinguish between a friend and a father, then you have not done the job of a parent. A person must be extremely careful. Here, the threat and the severe warning is given to the wife. If a wife seeks divorce from her husband without a valid reason, then she will not smell the fragrance of Jannah, leave alone going into Jannah. Smelling the fragrance of Jannah, she won't even smell the fragrance of Jannah, leave alone getting into Jannah. So this is an extreme severe threat for women who understand marriage to be something very light. Because most of the time, a man doesn't want to break his family. He wants to keep his family intact. Most of the time, 99% of the time, a man does not want to break his family because he understands the repercussions, not just for himself, but for his kids and his wife as well. Psychologically, it completely has a massive impact. Massive impact. Not just on yourselves, your children, your family, your whole it's two whole communities coming together. When you break that bond, you're literally untying the knots of society. This is why it's so damaging. وعن ابن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنهما عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أبغض الحلال إلى الله الطلاق رواه أبو داود. Imam Abu Dawud narrates on the authority of Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the most disgusted, the most hated thing in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talaq. Here, talaq is something which is allowed, but it is from those things which are the most hated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of what it does, because of the repercussions in society. Okay, it must be used as a last final resort when there is no way of reconciliation. You've tried admonishing, you've tried warning, you've tried حكما من أهله وحكما من أهلها. You've tried arbitrating between the two families. Family members, senior family members from both sides have tried, and this is at a later stage. Sometimes what happens is a person, he brings in brothers and fathers in an early stage. This is absolutely wrong. This is damaging to your family. This is damaging to your wife and your husband relationship. Your husband and wife relationship must be only to yourselves. That's it. No one, not your brother, not your sister, not your mother, no one must have anything to do with your relationship. That's the only way you're going to survive in a marriage. The moment you let your issues out to your brother, to your sister, automatically they're going to become comforting to you, because that's who they know. You're their blood brother, you're their blood sister, your mom's automatic. That's why a lot of marriages end up breaking. Why? Because of the mothers. Mothers are influencing those daughters in the wrong way. They don't understand how to keep that. That's why you shouldn't expose. You shouldn't say, my husband's doing this, my husband's doing that, my wife's doing this, my wife. There's no reason. There's no reason to do that. To go and tell your family everything about your wife, and your wife to go and tell everything about herself to her. It's completely wrong. It's completely wrong. It's going to cause colossal impact that you will never be able to. Because look, sometimes a person gets angry. A husband gets angry, wife gets angry. They bust, they erupt. For that moment, for that day. Afterwards, you make up. You become best friends again. But you've already told your friend that you have, your best friend, you've already told them, oh, this happened and that happened and that happened. All she remembers is the bad things. So she's automatically, when another fight happens, she's automatically going to tell you, don't take his side. He's done this to you already. Don't. Automatically, she's going to cause friction. Automatically, she's going to cause friction. But you've already mended that previous fight that you had. Whereas, in the new fight, who's started it? Your friend. Your best friend started it. Your best friend is your culprit. Why did you tell your best friend in the first place? Keep it to yourself. Your husband and wife relationship, keep it to yourself. Your fights that you're having, keep it to yourself. Your hardships that you're having, keep it to yourselves. Life is full of hardships. Life is full of hardships. Here, this is the last resort. When you bring two family members from each of their sides, from the husband's side as well as the wife's side, to come and reconcile between the two, this should be a last resort. This shouldn't be in the beginning. Beginning, admonishing. Secondly, warning. Thirdly, then finally, when nothing's working, then you bring two guardians from each family and try to reconcile between the two. If they wish to reconcile and to compromise, then alhamdulillah. That marriage is saved, inshallah, they will live happily. There has to be compromise. Without compromise, there's no such thing as marriage. There has to be compromise. A man who's working 7 days a week, he's not giving time to his wife, he's not giving time to his... But if the situation is such that he cannot but work 7 days a week, and he's only doing it for who? His wife and children. So you, from an outsider, you're saying, oh, he's not giving time to his wife and his children. Do you understand? You judging from an outsider, from your perspective, from your life, is different. His life is different. He's paying £2,500 a month rent. You're not doing that. You're on council. You're only paying £670. It's not the same. His life is not the same as your life. You don't have the right to judge another man. Every person in their family situation is going through different things. Every single person's situation is different. Some sons are living under their father's roof still. They don't even know life, but they're married, alhamdulillah. They've got their wife and they've got the kids and they're happy. So for you to judge and to say that no, he can't work inside the family business is completely wrong. It's completely wrong. You don't know his life. His life is completely different to your life. You can't make qiyas of another person's life on your life. You have two complete different lives. So each and every single scenario must be taken on its separate understanding. So divorce is allowed, but it's the last final resort when there is no way of reconciliation. They've tried their utmost best to keep these two. They've become so toxic that it's not possible to keep this marriage anymore. In fact, it might become offensive and dangerous for them to stay together. If it's that, then in that case, maybe divorce might be more peaceful. Okay, divorce might be more peaceful. This is why Islam allows divorce, doesn't mean it likes divorce. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates divorce. Okay, like in the hadith that we narrated from Abu Dawud. We'll end here, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.
Allahu Akbar, Allah.